Today we're going to be going over the hottest new shot in pickleball. That is the hybrid. The hybrid is a third shot, but it's not a drop and it's not a drive. It's a combination of the two. There's a few reasons why you must add this to your game, but the aspects it takes from the two are it will have spin and power like a drive, a little bit less, and it will get down around the kitchen area like a drop. The reason the hybrid has become such a crucial shot to learn, for instance, it's a shot I am now using probably close to 50% of the time on my own thirds, is because with the newer paddles and the poppier paddles, people are hitting bigger serves, pushing their opponents back, and people are getting to the line later. So when your opponents aren't getting to line, another reason might be if you're playing some older opponents, you can use this shot to apply a lot of pressure. Imagine a ball that is on your feet, but it's not a dead drop. It's an aggressive ball that's bouncing right in front of you. That causes a lot of pop-ups and earns you lots of free points. It's shots lots of pros are hitting and something you need to be using yourself. If your opponents are stacking, this is a shot you must be using because the player coming all the way across the court is almost always late. So this shot will allow you to get in and be aggressive. The other time is when you blast the serve. So even though they're not unstacking, they may be coming up late. This happens a lot when you have a player, you or your partner, that's hitting big serves and pushing your opponents back off the line. When this happens, the hybrid is the most effective shot. It's better than a drive and better than a drop. Thank you guys for coming back to watch. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment to help my channel. Now we're going to dig into the mechanics of the hybrid. So this shot is a little bit more challenging than the drop or the drive, and this is because we're not doing anything at 100%. What I mean by this is when we drop, we're going super light, and when we drive, we can swing super fast. The hybrid is a little bit harder because we're somewhere between the two, right? And if we're a little bit too far to one side or the other, it may not work great. But it starts the same way as all of our other shots. Starts from the ground up. So as the ball approaches, most important thing, making sure I'm behind the line after my team serves so that I can hit this hybrid taking a step up. Again, this is an aggressive shot, so we're generally going to want to do this when we get slightly shorter returns. I'm really just not wanting to do this off my back foot. Even if I'm here, that's a fine time to hit this shot. Now, the hybrid is almost always going to be to the player coming in. For me, in this case, let's imagine I'm hitting it down the line because my opponents are unstacking, right? So my opponent has to run all the way cross court in front of me. So as the ball approaches, it's very similar setup to my top spin drop. So I'm either going to get in an open, semi-closed, or closed stance. Not super important. In general, I'd say I'm probably in that semi-open stance to give myself some space and time. As the ball comes, I'm going to set up. I get my nice backswing planted. The big change from my forehand drop is going to be my contact. So the difference between the drop was we were coming very up, and the drive we were coming very through. The hybrid, imagine a 45-degree angle, right? So the drop, I'm almost all up, and the drive, I'm almost all out. The hybrid, I'm coming both. So we're kind of thinking of the ball as we're hitting this. So with our drives, we're hitting pretty high on the ball. With our drops, we're going to hit very low. The hybrid, we're going to hit between those two spots. So it's in between the two, and that's what's going to allow us to get that ball to dip earlier. The key with the hybrid is getting the ball to apex early. And what I mean by this is we want the ball to be coming down as it gets to the net. Our drives a lot of times aren't, but that's okay because we're hitting them so hard. But with this shot, because they're not as hard, we want them to really, really dip. So that dip is going to be the big key. So as I'm hitting this ball, I'm going to really focus on coming up and through and brushing the back. So as I hit it, I brush up the back of the ball and I generate lots of spin. That way, as my opponent is running in, they're not hitting the ball up here like they would on a drive. They're hitting it way down here. And that is the beauty of the hybrid. You can see how hitting those balls, Zach is running in still and having to hit that volley. Now imagine my partner's here also applying pressure. That's why the hybrid is so good. Sometimes you get a clean error. Worst case scenario, you get up to the net easily. As long as I get the dip on that ball, there's very little my opponent can do. Now we'll show you guys the other way really quickly. We can do it with a two-handed backhand. We're not gonna focus on that today. Soon I do have some videos on the two-hander coming out, but on the forehand, we can go inside out the exact same way we just did, but I'm just gonna kind of get around the ball into that closed stance now instead of that semi-open, and that will allow me to go inside out with the ball, applying the same pressure, maybe even more, because now Zach has to hit a backhand. You can see how effective that shot is because it is so low. The best ones I hit were all the way down at Zach's feet, but even the ones that were a little bit higher, he has to hit a volley around his knees, which is going to be very easy for me to either get in or possibly even attack. Again, the hybrid is a lethal shot to add to your game. One last thing I want to cover is the target, right? The big key with this is up here in your head, and that is that the target is no longer in the kitchen, it's your opponent's feet. So normally when we're hitting a drop, we're trying to get it to bounce in this case, the light green. For us on the hybrid, our focus is going to be their feet. So you saw on that last one, Zach was a little further off the kitchen, so I hit my ball even a little bit deeper. If your opponents are back here in the midcourt, hit it back here in the midcourt, right? You shouldn't be hitting the ball in the kitchen if your opponents aren't there. So the hybrid lets you change your target. So I can hit it a little bit less and get it down a little bit earlier, maybe a little less aggressive if they're closer, or if my opponent's further, I'll hit it even a little deeper. So again, by moving that target, that will allow us to hit a really good and effective shot. Again, covering what we talked about earlier, using this shot when our opponents are unstacking or slow to get to the kitchen, and again, focusing on brushing up the back of the ball fast is how we're gonna generate that dip. Add the hybrid to your game and watch yourself instantly improve.